This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.
Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Bullscast with me, George Holloway. In this week's episode, Hereford progressed through to the FA Trophy fourth round after beating Radcliffe on penalties. We'll review all of the action from the 1-1 draw and the Bulls' shootout victory before looking ahead to Fylde in the next round. Also on the pod, we discussed the fine form of Sam Osborne, Jaden White's return to Edgar Street and the upcoming match at Chorley this weekend. As always, I'm joined by Keith Hall. Keith, thanks for joining me. It was a great game on Saturday, right the way to a penalty shootout in the FA Trophy third round against Radcliffe. Hereford prevailing 4-2, but it was another early goal that the Bulls conceded.
Yeah, seems to be the story of the season somehow. But yeah, it was one of those that it was a strange goal again that sort of dropped in, wasn't it? But at least Hereford fought back and got into the game.
Yeah, the Bulls grew into the game as the first half went on.
Yeah, they did. The first 20 minutes, I thought Radcliffe, I wouldn't say bossed it completely, but they had much more of the possession. Didn't create too many opportunities for themselves in that period, but they were on top. And whether the concerns of the pitch actually had a reverse effect on the Hereford players, I'm not sure. Intriguingly, both sides tended to work the ball around outside of those soft, sandy sections of the Edgar Street pitch, but overall, I thought it played okay.
Sam Osborne levelled for the Bulls from the spot 5 minutes into the second half after Kamani Miller brought down Aaron Skinner. And it was a surprisingly rash challenge, Keith, because the fullback had played really well in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, he'd done really well in an attacking sense, didn't he? Forcing Hereford back with his pace. I think he was on loan from Wigan Athletic. And he certainly looked the part coming forward. But it was good to see Skinner in that attacking third of the pitch. And he sort of jinked as though he was going to cross with his left foot and then went back on the outside. And that's when he got tripped up. And it was a clear and obvious penalty. I don't think anybody in the ground doubted that. You know, that set Hereford up. And it's a really well struck penalty from Sam Osborne, who's certainly the man in form at the minute. Fired it in, and no chance really for the Radcliffe keeper.
Yeah, pace and power beating Mark Halstead in the Borough goal. And Osborne had a chance to give Hereford the lead with 10 minutes remaining when he rounded Halstead, Keith, but it was a very tight angle.
Oh, such an acute angle. He got quite a fierce effort on it, actually, because sometimes you think, well, a player, when he's in that sort of position, will try and get the accuracy and not power quite so much. But Sam Osborne still wrapped his boot around it, got it across from that acute angle, and I don't think it was too far away.
The Bulls got a grip of the midfield area, Keith. It's something that we mentioned about at half-time, and particularly in the latter stages of the second half, they really had a stranglehold on the game.
Yeah, complete momentum shift, wasn't it? Following the restart, I've noticed that from Hereford quite a few times, even last season under Paul Caddis. There does seem to be an improved uplift in the energy of the performance and the positivity in the second periods, and it certainly bore fruit against Radcliffe. So I think coming into the game, you would have said, oh, that's a very difficult tie. Radcliffe have started the season well. They had a little bit of a dip coming into the game, but it was one of those that you thought, this is a tricky tie. Are Hereford going to be good enough to get through? So generally, if that had been a league game, you might have said, yeah, well, I'll settle for 1-1. But you can't do that in a FA Trophy tie. Had to be decided on the day. So off we went to penalties, no extra time. And it ended up quite a dramatic afternoon, didn't it?
Radcliffe had chances of their own to win the game, and one of them involved Theo Richardson producing a brilliant save to deny Jordan Hume.
Oh, tremendous save, wasn't it? It really did open up in those last 5 minutes. It was as though both sides said, well, we don't want to go to penalties, we want to win this now. Things were a little bit more stretched than they had been for, 85 minutes of the match. And it could have gone either way in the 95 or 98 minutes it turned into. And as you say, it struck the post. Another fantastic save from Theo Richardson as well to make sure Hereford went to penalties. And then, of course, Richardson was the hero in those too.
Were you slightly surprised, Keith, that Hume didn't start the game?
Yeah, a little bit, but he has had a little bit of a knock, I think, up there. And he's one of these players that probably at his age now, he needs to be brought into games and get minutes under his belt rather than thrust straight in, week out. A bit like Andy Williams to a degree. But he has always been a thorn in the Hereford side. He always seems to do well against us, and when he came on, he could have turned the game, but in the end, it was Hereford that went on to win via penalties.
Yeah, 6 goals this season for Hume. Came on in the latter stages of the game, and of course was denied, as we said, by that brilliant Richardson save. No real Clegg in the side as well, who was Borough's top scorer with 11 goals this season. He was suspended after picking up a straight red card. So with the two teams inseparable after 90 minutes, Keith, we went to penalties. Now, Radcliffe had beaten Bradford Park Avenue in a shootout in the previous round, but it was the Bulls who delivered on this occasion.
Yeah, they beat Bradford 6-5 on penalties after a 2-2 home draw. But yeah, Hereford set things off. Once again, it was Sam Osborne who struck a fierce penalty, as he had done in normal time, struck it well. And got Hereford on the front foot in those spot kicks.
And heroics from Richardson Keith to save 2 Radcliffe penalties to put Hereford in the box seat.
Yeah, save from Smith and from Greenfield. Skinner put Hereford 2 up. Taylor made it 2-1. Then it was up to Lawson Darth to take responsibility of hitting that third one in. And that was probably the crucial one, because although a Fylde scored to make it 3-2, Andy Williams could have won it had he struck home his penalty. And it was probably the weakest of all 5, and in the end it was Halstead who made that save low to his left-hand side. I don't think Andy Williams struck it well. He's always seemed to be one of these spot kick takers, Andy Williams, where he tries to be a little bit cool and calm with it. He never strikes it fiercely, and on that surface it seemed to me that it was old school penalties that were going to get you through. You just step up, make sure you get your boot through it, get pace on the ball, and if the goalkeeper gets in the way of it, well, credit to the goalkeeper. But really, all 4 of Hereford's penalty kicks, Osborne, Skinner, Darth and White, were well taken and well struck. And obviously, of course, when Jaden White got his in, Hereford were through 4-2.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, Williams missed the chance to win the penalty shootout for Hereford, but then Jaden White stepped up, of course, returned on loan from Sutton United, and what a great penalty to end on.
Yeah, he seems to have got that spark back. He seems to be enjoying his football now, and he's got that extra little bit of creativity I think Hereford have been lacking in the final third, and hopefully things can be arranged so that continues for a while. I know Jaden White's got his critics, but for me, he can be a match winner. Whether it's with an assist or with a strike on goal, he does tend to be a little bit more of a player that will always shoot rather than look up and find other players. But because of the way he plays, he's always a thorn in the opponent's team. And he's got good close skill, good quick feet. He likes these audacious step overs, cuts in from the right hand side and gets shots away, much like Osborne on the other flank. So if those two in tandem could be a positive for Hereford if things work out with both of those moves, because of course both players are on loan, one from Sutton, one from Alfreton.
And particularly in the first half, he had some really good link-up play with Aaron Skinner down the right-hand side.
Yeah, they did. We mentioned the threats that were coming from Radcliffe on that side, but once they got to grips with it, I thought they opened up Radcliffe quite well. It might have been a victory in the normal 90 minutes, but in the end we were thankful for penalties because it went our way.
Yeah, and of course Aaron Skinner, one of the penalty takers who scored to help Hereford win 4-2 in the shootout. And overall, Keith, it was a really good performance from Hereford and Radcliffe, which contributed to a really good tie culminating in the shootout.
Yeah, very competitive tie from both teams. They went for it. As you say, Hereford much improved in the second period. Could have well won the game during that, but then won it on penalties. And when you do win on penalties, it gives you everybody in the ground a bit of an uplift, and everybody went home smiling, apart from the 20-odd Radcliffe supporters who were there, who did make quite a bit of noise, especially in the first half. But it was good to see Hereford back on winning ways at Edgar Street. They hadn't won at the Street since 20th of September against Worksop. So it was good to get that and a home win. And of course, we've got Fylde now, top of the table in the National League North. In the hat, we picked them out on The match will be played on Saturday the 10th of January, so Fylde at the minute are on fire. They've won 10 of their last 12, so it will be a tricky tie. Daniel Ormerod is up front for them. Looked at an asset up at Fylde when we played up there, but I was at that game at Fylde, and I really do think Hereford could well have won it. Just because Fylde are now top of the table wouldn't rule out Hereford going on to win that one. I'm sure it'd be an extremely competitive game.
Yeah, they could certainly take some heart from that away performance into the home tie in the FA Trophy fourth round.
Yeah, they shouldn't go into it. It's going to be a big challenge. I think that's probably sparked them into life a little bit up at Fylde. Likewise at South Shields, everybody's saying, oh, we've got no chance up there. Complete waste of time going up there. But in the end, they played really, really well. And could have won it, and it was really gutting when on both occasions that Hereford didn't get what they deserved, but I wouldn't rule out a Hereford home win against Fylde.
The prize pot will be just over £8,000 if they were to win that FA Trophy fourth round clash. The Bulls picked up just over £4,000 for their win over Radcliffe on Saturday. Just a couple of things to pick up on, Keith. Amari Sterling-James wasn't in the squad this Saturday. Paul Caddis revealed afterwards that he is the subject of interest from other clubs. 5 goals this season. He would be a big loss.
He would be, certainly from those free kicks, as you say. And set pieces generally. Corner kicks are very accurate as well, I feel. But overall, it's the sum of all the parts rather than the individual. And it was intriguing to hear Phil Brown, the Peterborough manager, talking about Amari Sterling-James and saying he felt he didn't think he was happy in the position that he was being asked to play in. Paul Caddis was saying, rather you out wide, because I need somebody in that position rather than the number 10 role, which maybe Sam Osborne has taken over that mantle a little bit at the moment, and therefore Amari Sterling-James didn't look necessarily a happy player. So if that is the case, it's better to change things, work around it, get somebody like Jaden White in to bolster the squad, and so you can sort of manage that change of personnel. And I think that's what's going to happen in the next week or so.
Yeah, and if he were to leave, we mentioned him earlier, how important could someone like Sam Osborne be? His form has been a real big plus for Hereford in recent weeks. Of course, levelled from the spot in normal time and then scored his penalty in the shootout. He could be pretty crucial, Keith.
Well, this is it, isn't it? You've got 2 players who've come in on loan. OK, Jaden White's only just arrived within Edgar Street, but he knows the structure, he knows most of the players, management style and all the rest of it. He seems to have been pepped up by coming to Edgar Street, so hopefully, fingers crossed, something can be arranged there with Sutton. But the crucial one, I imagine, was Sam Osborne, because of the goals he's scoring as well, and the position that Alfreton find themselves in the league table. Who's to know whether they will say, well, we need him back, or you're not going to have him for the rest of the season, because there is a period, Paul Caddis revealed this in the summer, that there is a chance that during that festive period they could ask for him back, even though it's supposed to be a season-long loan deal. Then I suppose you could start looking at transfer fees and all the rest of it. Who knows? But I'm sure most, if not all, Hereford supporters would like to see Sam Osborne staying at Edgar Street one way or another. Maybe it's a permanent signing, maybe it's a loan signing, maintained until the end of the campaign, because he's won over a lot of fans. Weren't sure right at the very start whether he was not match fit, of course, but he's proving his worth now, and I don't think many people who were there will forget the hat trick down at Sudbury in the previous round of the trophy, and the third goal was very spectacular indeed.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed for that one. Another player that Paul Caddis name-checked in his post-match interview, Keith, was Gus Mafuta, saying that the midfielder gets through a lot of the work that goes unnoticed. And of course, we mentioned the midfield earlier. How crucial has his return to the field and also form been for the Bulls?
Well, he was seen as the enforcer and the player that was going to knit things together. He's never going to be spectacular. Yeah, I know it was a spectacular strike at Peterborough, but that's not normally his game. He's not going to score too many of those throughout the campaign. But what he does do is he just obstructs. He'll compete in that central position, try and win the ball, and then just make a soft pass. You don't have to suddenly hit 45 screaming, yardage, diagonally down the pitch. Just keep that ball moving, provided he can maintain his fitness, which was a doubt obviously earlier in the campaign, but he seems to have come through that. He's a player now that Paul Caddis can look at and hopefully rely on and say that's someone who's going to hunker things down, sitting in front of the back four, and then we'll try and dictate and we'll get other players playing off him further forward.
And playing alongside Lawson Diath, Keith, that looks like the makings there of a pretty decent partnership.
Yeah, well, when Lawson's on top of his game, he does look extremely good when he's attacking and get those sprints. And I noticed quite a few against Radcliffe, actually. He would make late runs off the ball, giving people options to pass that ball to him. And he's got a good range of passing himself. And some of those through balls towards the penalty box from about 30, 35 yards out kept Hereford certainly in the hunt to win the game. If he can maintain that level, then he's going to be an asset come the new year.
One player that's impressed in the last few games is Keenan Kwanzaa, who's slotted in alongside Matt Preston.
Yeah, he's starting to show a little bit of that athleticism that we thought we were going to get from him. Versatile player, he can play at full-back, probably prefers to be in a central defensive position. Doesn't necessarily matter really whether it's alongside Kyle Hawkins or Matt Preston. I think those two would dovetail together. And it's giving Hereford a little bit more pace than having the two, Hawkins and Preston, together. They forged a really good partnership last season, but I think opposition teams have looked at it and say, how can we break these two players down? They may have got vast experience and they know exactly what they're trying to do, but sometimes they get turned a little bit. If a player gets away at pace, they're very, very difficult to stop. So maybe Keenan Kwanzaa slotting in there will give Hereford a little bit more of, as I say, that energy and athleticism at the back.
The Bulls are up in Lancashire this Saturday to take on Chorley, who have been uncharacteristically inconsistent this season, Keith.
Yeah, not 1 in 3. The last win was against Bedford on the 22nd of November. You'd expect Chorley to be right up there. Got into the playoffs, of course, last year, 5th, with only 2 home defeats. They beat Kings Lynn in those playoffs and then lost to Scunthorpe in the semi-finals. And under Andy Priest, an extremely experienced manager, you'd think he'll sort it out. He'll make sure that they get up there again. But at the minute, they're a sort of mid-table team. Just 6 clean sheets, which surprises me. They've been involved in 24 matches overall in all competitions this season, and only 6 clean sheets in those 24. Now, whether Hereford have got the firepower to get the goals, to knock them back a little bit if they are weaker at the back than they have been in previous campaigns. But in Matt Irwin, the captain and goalkeeper, they got one of the most, if not the most consistent goalkeeper in the National League North. So he's going to be, as always, up for the challenge. He always is. And you'll give Hereford something to aim at. If they can get the ball past him, we might have a happy afternoon.
Their last league win came on the 22nd of November at home to Bedford Town. They lost to Kidderminster 3-1 and drew at Worksop in their last 2 games. Besides Matt Irwin, Keith, who else can Hereford fans look out for Chorley?
Well, I'm not sure really whether Hereford should be that concerned about the opposition to that degree. But Angelo Popula has come in. He can make his home debut. A young striker, 18-year-old, has come in from Accrington Stanley, who has played in the National League North, got experience already with Marine in the division. So it's not like having Connor Hall, who was up front scoring quite freely for Chorley in previous seasons. So I don't see necessarily an individual that you would look at and say he's the man to watch. It's whether they've collectively, Chorley, have got enough to beat Hereford. I just don't think Hereford should be concerned at all about what Chorley going to produce. It's all about what Hereford do on the day. They've taken 4 points from the last 2 National League North games, beating Peterborough, drawing away at Chester, some of the performances away at South Shields. That should give Hereford hope that they can go to Chorley. And they've got a fairly decent record against them in recent years. Drew 1-1 last year. Akim Rose, I remember, scored for Hereford last season. And previous to that, they won 2-1. Jack Tolley and Alex Babos with a goal scorer. So in recent years, Hereford have produced good performances up at Victory Park. Let's hope they can make it 3 games running up there.
And of course, it could very easily have been 6 points from 6 if Andy Williams had converted that penalty, Keith.
Well, we talked about Andy Williams from spot kick before, didn't we? He just tried to take them coolly and tries to outthink the goalkeeper. But as I was saying, on Saturday, get it down, get your laces through it, we used to say, and fire the ball home. I remember Steve Emery. I think he's probably Hereford's best ever penalty taker because he just plonked the ball down on the spot, turned round 5 yards, ran up and absolutely smashed it. One of the best penalties I think I ever saw. I think was in the old second division from Steve Emery. But anyway, that's all our yesteryears. But for me, I don't like all of these sort of stop-start style of penalties. Just plonk it down, fire it home, get on with it.
The big one coming up on Boxing Day, Keith, Merthyr to come on the 30th. How important is it that Hereford go into those 2 games off the back of a positive result up at Chorley?
Well, you'd think it's massive, really, because both Kidderminster and Merthyr are in the playoff positions. Not going to be easy games at all. Merthyr pretty much free-scoring side, so they're going to have to be controlled as much as possible on their own 4G surface. Kidderminster at home, fingers crossed the game can go ahead at Edgar Street. I think we've got over 500 tickets sold to Kidderminster supporters already, so they're going to pretty much take up their full allocation, I would imagine. So it could be a rock and roll Boxing Day afternoon. They've lost just 1 in the last 6, Kidderminster. I know a lot of the Harriers supporters are still not convinced about the manager, so they're venting their spleen every time they don't actually win. But somehow they're still right in the mix. So I think most Hereford supporters rather Kidderminster's position than Hereford's at the moment. But these local derbies, as we saw the Sunderland-Newcastle game in the Premier League this weekend, they can be very feisty affairs. You never know quite what's going to happen. Can turn on one particular incident or a sending off or something like that. But Hereford have got to go into those 2 games, as you say, hopefully on the back of making sure the momentum that they've built up in the last few weeks continues.
Are you confident that Hereford can pick up a result at Chorley?
I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I don't think they should go there with any fear whatsoever. Take the game to Chorley as much as they can. Normal style seems to be stay in the game as much as you can, and then maybe at half-time become a bit more expansive. That seems to be the way Paul Caddis is sending teams out at the moment. That doesn't mean to say it'll be successful, and of course could change it completely with the likes of Jayden White and Sam Osborne starting and firing and giving somebody some support up front. But until we see the tactics on the day and the formation on the day, we don't know, and Andy Priest doesn't know what Hereford are going to do. Thoughts are they will look at it and they'll probably do what they usually do, but who knows, we might be surprised.
After a shortened programme due to the FA Trophy, the National League North is back in full swing this weekend. Second from bottom Alfreton host playoff chasing Macclesfield. Bedford are at home to Marine, while 14th place Buxton play 15th place Telford. Chester, who have now won 3 of their last 4 games, welcome high-flying South Shields to the Diva Stadium. It's 4th versus 1st as Kidderminster host Fylde. Kings Lynn travel to Darlington, while Peterborough Sports play an out-of-form Scarborough side. Radcliffe, who recorded a brilliant 3-0 win up in Bridlington on Tuesday night, host rock bottom Leamington. It's Southport versus Worksop and Spennymoor versus Oxford City, while 3rd place Merthyr are at home to Curzon Ashton. Don't forget you can catch all of the action from Chorley with Radio Hereford FC Matchday Live. Build-up starts from 2:45. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bullscast. Keith and I will be back next week to look ahead to the 2 counties derby and Merthyr away over the festive period. But until then, it's bye for now.
This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.